Hello and welcome to a new video. In today's video we will be trying out not one, not two, but 3 sets of Ohuhu's new Honolulu S pens. These are their alcohol markers with their new soft chisel nibs. They've been releasing new sets of pens recently with these new nibs. So these sets that we will be trying out today have their new soft chisel nibs. Each set comes with a range of different pens, so as you can see here, this set here is basically like the skin tone set. They've called it the Potrait Set. This second set is the 48 set. This has more colour range compared to the first set, as you can see. And then the last set is the 60 colour set, which once again has even more than the 48 set, but has a few similar ones from the previous sets. So this is the new pen here. It comes with a brush nib, and then this is the new chisel nib. So I'm comparing it here to one of their regular chisel nibs, and you can see it has a more tapered finish. And I believe the material is completely different as well. It is a softer material, and I'm just comparing what they look like here on this scrap piece of paper. I find that they are a lot smoother and they blend nicer. Each set also comes with an alcohol marker protection sheet, so it just protects any bleed through going onto anything beneath the paper you're working on. So this is the first swatch set here. As you can see, it comes with a nice range of colours, which I will talk about more in a minute. The second set, as I mentioned, has a lot more colours compared to the first one. And then the last set has even more. It does include some colours from the previous sets as well, but it has a few couple extra that just aren't in the previous ones. So here are all the colours. It's quite a nice range. If you separate them into their individual sets, you can see the benefits of each set. This is the Potrait Set. As you can see, it's got a decent range. Once again, I feel it's lacking in the darker colours. There are a lot of lighter colours that I feel are pretty similar and could be replaced with one of the darker or a more mid-tone colour, because these mid-tone ones are also all looking fairly similar, so I'm always going to have that gripe when it comes to colour sets like these. Moving on to the second set, you get a proper range of colours this time, and there's a fairly decent range between them as well. I feel like there are a lot of like pinks and reds, and I would prefer a couple more of these cooler toned purples. Again, personal preference. Then this is the 60 set one. Yeah, you just get a few more colours that aren't present in the previous ones, because they have been changing the colours of their pens lately, or at least changing the names of their pens. They have included, if you can see at the bottom here, they've mentioned that these are that underneath each of the new colours is the name of the old colour. So it should be pretty easy to transition over to the new set, knowing which of the new colours are the old colours that you maybe liked or that you have. So I think that's really nice that they've included what the previous colours were called. Yes, okay. So that's it for the swatches. So in today's video, I am once again going into my sketchbook. This is an RTX sketchbook, just so you understand. All paper reacts differently to alcohol markers. That's why I just want to let you know. So my plan for this video was that I wanted to do a couple portraits per set of markers. So for the first few pictures, I will be using the Potrait set, then I will be moving on to the 48 colour set and then the 60 colour set. So I'm just starting off here by sketching a pigeon. I thought that would be really fun, and because these are like browns and creams, I thought it would make for a really nice soft looking pigeon, and I'm just sketching it out with my pink Faber-Castell pencil. I really like how alcohol markers look with pink pencil, because typically you can see the original line art when using alcohol markers, and if it's pink I feel like it just blends in really nicely, almost to the point of disappearing, but if you can see it, it just creates like a really nice effect. So yeah, basically what I'm doing is just trying to use the colours from this first set, matching them with like the tone of the pigeon that I am referencing, which should be up on the screen, to just try and match the different shades and depth. And this is where I thought perhaps the range was a little lacking, like there was too much pale, not enough midtones, or I know that it's a pigeon and perhaps these pens are intended for more human pictures with skin tones, but it does make me think if I had tried to do a range of humans like I had done with a previous set of acrylic pens, would I run into any issues? The only reason I didn't do any humans for this video is because, one, I was feeling a little fatigued. So drawing animals is a really fun way for me to create art without feeling the stress that can come with drawing people, because people can be really difficult to draw and sometimes I just don't want the stress of that. But also because not that long ago I did an entire video on testing the range of skin colours that came in a set of different acrylic pens. So I just thought it might be more fun to not go down the obvious route of just doing people with these pens and just seeing how it would look with animals. And yeah, I really like it because then I got these like really nice soft brown toned animals that look like chocolates and coffees and stuff. So I just really like the vibe of it. So as you can see, after finishing the alcohol pen work on this piece, I am lining it with coloured pencil. I'm just using a like dark red and a purple, and I just wanted to stick to these two simple colours. It kept the piece looking colourful, and I would use the purple as like the shading part of the line art, which gave it a bit more depth and made it look less flat, I feel, than if I had just used one pencil. So after the pigeon, I am drawing the next animal that I have been drawing a lot of recently, I feel, which is a tiger. I am sorry about the quality of the footage right here. My camera really struggles when the lighting isn't amazing, so it creates this weird like wobbly effect when I am sketching. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. That happens quite a bit. Yeah, I'm just drawing this tiger here, and I'm also sticking with the portrait colour set at this point still, because I kind of wanted to do a page per set of pens. Initially, I was planning on only doing 2 pages, so I was going to have this pigeon and this tiger here, then move on and have the 48 set in the top corner, and then on the next page I was going to do the 60 set. But as I was drawing this tiger, I didn't like the body of the tiger being cut off by the seam of the page, so I just decided to spread out a bit more, which is what pushed me into, or which is what helped me decide that I actually wanted to do pretty much a page per set of pens. And I just prefer how it looks. I feel like it flows better because I ignored the seam of the page. So I'm just slowly building up the tiger from light to dark. I always find that tigers look really weird when I'm colouring them like this, because like at this point it very much looks like a big cat, but you know, it looks like there's kind of something wrong with it, and I'm always like, have I just drawn this badly? Do I not know how to draw tigers? And then as soon as you get to the stripes, it's like, oh, okay, no, this looks fine. This is a tiger, very clearly. And the stripes really just help make it look a lot better and creates some nice shape as well, because you're trying to follow the shapes and contours of the tiger with the stripes. And I just love putting the stripes on. And that was something that was really fun about using the chisel nib, because in this video, pretty much all I use is the chisel nib, which I typically don't do. I typically prefer using the brush nib on pens, but because this is the soft chisel nib set, I really wanted to just focus on using those. And I was having so much fun because you get these straight blocky lines, which, as I was saying, is really fun to do with the stripes because it gave such sharp angled lines. And normally I really like my pictures looking soft, but lately I've been enjoying using chisel nibs for like just anything. Like I did it with an I did it with an acrylic marker video. I've been doing it with my paintings. I've been using square brushes or slanted brushes, and I've just really liked how it's been looking. So aside from the difficulty of sometimes using a chiseled nib or flat nib can be quite difficult to get into some shapes, it's worth it. I don't know, I just really like it. And then also it has like really good coverage because the nib is typically bigger than a brush nib. And I also find that with Ohuhu's newer soft nibs, things just feel like they blend nicer. Like I feel like everything has a nicer finish. Like once things start drying, I feel like it doesn't look as streaky and it all just becomes soft. So I don't know how they've done that. I don't know what about the nib means that the ink that comes out of it also looks really soft, but I am loving their soft nibs. There's just something about them that's really satisfying. Now that the tiger is done and I did the same thing with the pencil line art, I am moving on to a horse, which is the last one for the portrait pens. I wanted to go for a darker colour scheme because I felt like the pigeon and the tiger were quite light because they have creamy patches on them. So I chose a horse that is predominantly mid-tone. I really enjoyed sketching it out. I've had fun drawing horses lately, although not as much lately as tigers. I always struggle with their eyes when it comes to colouring them in because I don't know how to colour them in a way where it doesn't just look like a big like anime eye. Does that make sense? Like you'll see a bit later when I get to that point. I just wanted to try and use some of the colours that I maybe hadn't used as much here. Also, another thing, I am really sorry about the constant lighting change because I have sped up the footage for the rest of the video. The lighting can sometimes be a little flickering and I don't know how to change that because that is from my camera like autofocusing, like when it detects that the lighting in the center of the focus has changed, it like adjusts the brightness, and I don't know how to change that because I don't like it constantly changing by itself. But yeah, that's why it kind of looks a bit uncomfortable, so I'm really sorry if that is making you uncomfortable. I don't know how to change it. So once again, I am finishing up by adding the pencil line art. I really like how this was all looking with the portrait colour set because it was such like a limited colour set. I feel like using the coloured line art really did help make it look more colourful. And yeah, I also used the Ohuhu white gel pen to add the highlights in the horse's eye, which is what I feel made it look really anime. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's like a big watery eye, and I don't know how to do it in a way where it doesn't look like that. So I'm not the biggest fan of how the eye looks. Here I am showing you the bleed through. You know, obviously it's an alcohol marker and it typically bleeds through everything. There are a couple things that alcohol markers won't bleed through, but this paper is not one of them. So moving on to the next page, I am doing a wolf, or a husky, sorry, not a wolf. I wanted it to take up most of the page and I wanted to give it a sort of poster effect, and in my head I had the colour scheme of like blues and reds. Like I wanted the dog to be blue surrounded by reds because I thought that would look really nice, but also make a nice contrast with the brown animals on the previous page before. I did plan on having like a star or sparkle thing like shooting out of the dog's eye. As you can see, I sketched it out, but during the colouring process I did unfortunately forget about that. So you can just pretend it's not even there because it won't be for long. And yeah, I gave a sort of explosion vibe effect behind the dog because I just really like that type of graphic art. So yeah, I wanted the dog to be blue, so naturally I started by colouring it in purple and pink. I'm not entirely sure what made me think to do that, but because of how alcohol markers work, it is best to, I don't know, try and plan out the colours a bit, which is what I was really trying to do here by starting with the shading. And because I wanted it to be a blue dog, I was like, well, it should have like purple shading, and then it would look really nice if there was a bit of pink in there as well. And so I threw myself off for a while because I was like, this is not looking like just a blue dog. As I started adding in the actual blues, of course, and then slowly building up and adding darker and darker colours, I felt like it was looking a bit better, although I do still feel like the pink and purple stands out quite a lot, and not entirely in the way I meant it to. It was just a really weird choice, and I don't always know why my brain does what it does, so I don't know why I started there. But yeah, I just was slowly building things up at this point and praying that it was going to work out. As always, adding the darker parts helped make it come to life more and helped me see more of what I was actually doing, because initially I was thinking how it was looking very samey, very mid-tones. Adding the dark parts made me think, oh, actually I quite like how this is looking. The contrast is looking a lot better now, which is always the way, it's always how it happens. So as you can see, there is no sparkle or whatever in his eye, and I made his eye orange instead because I thought it would make a nice contrast to the blue, because I believe they're complementary colours, blue and orange, so I think that's nice. I didn't go for a realistic eye, so it is just a orange orb. And then, as I mentioned, I wanted it to be a blue and red page, so the explosion burst behind the dog is this one shade of red, which I think looks really, really nice and was really easy to put down because the chisel nib just helped get a nice coverage. So once again, I'm going in with the coloured pencil and just adding some extra details as well as lining everything. And yeah, again, I think this brings it all together and just makes it look really nice. Helps give it some more definition that it was maybe lacking. But I also was wanting more of that like graphic design look that I kept mentioning. So I also decided to go around the outline of the dog with this dark blue marker, which of course showed up not blue on the red because of how, you know, colours work. And I just really like that because it gave it sharp angles. So then I had this blank space left on the page that I really wanted to fill because I really like having my pages filled. And my brother suggested that I draw some teeth up there, which I was like, yes, I actually really love drawing teeth, so I'm gonna do that. But I turned them into like fangs, which I feel fits following on from the wolf. This was just a lot of fun. I put it in another like explosion starburst thingy, and I just wanted it to have like the sort of vibes of like you know, like advertisement kind of thing. So I decided to colour the whole thing in this lighter yellow to sort of act as a, you know, like a base colour. I wanted everything to be slightly yellow. So because alcohol markers, you can typically see some of what's beneath it, it meant that the yellow will bleed through into pretty much any colour that I put over the top. I really like that. And then I was just slowly building up with like oranges and reds and I think a little bit of brown at one point, just to try and keep it all within the like yellow colour range, but also try and add that depth that they need. And this was a lot of fun. I don't know what it is about teeth, but there's something really fun about drawing them. These ones obviously are attached to gums, which I always struggle with making look like gums and not like some just weird thing, and I think it looks alright here. It's hard for me to tell. I think it makes sense, but because obviously it doesn't have the rest of a face around it, it does still stand out a bit strange. And then I went and blended some darker yellow out from the starburst thing just to make it look more interesting because it was looking a little weak. And then I finished it off with the same line art as usual, and I was using the red as the front line art, and then I used the purple for the background line art to try and like imply shading in the line art. And then just to add a bit more depth, I also used a little bit of the purple in the foreground, just in a couple places where it needed a bit more like contrast and shading, and I just really like how it looks. And of course I then also added some sparkles, which I think helped with the advertisement vibe. And then to finish off, again, I didn't like all the white that was around the dog, so I added some of these bright pink Thunderbolt looking things, which is another thing I've really enjoyed adding to pictures recently. And yeah, I just like how that looks. So yeah, that is it for the first two sets. I think you get a really nice range. Like if you ignore this, you get some nice ranges here. You can see how they work together. Again, you kind of can't tell how it works as skin tones because these are animals. And then for these ones as well, I mean, I didn't use any greens, so you kind of can't see the range of the greens, which I realise is something I do a lot in art. I don't use greens very much. But for what I have used, I think you get some nice range and help give you definition and depth in colours. So that's it for the first two sets, but we have one more set of pens. This is not the end of the video. We'll move on to that now. So because of the bleed through of the wolf, I am going to use the back of that page as just a sketching page. So there is this character here I'm showing you. They are from my Sketchbook 16 title page. They're a character that I haven't drawn that much since the title page, which is a shame because I actually really like both of the characters. They're just a very interesting thing that I just don't do much with. So I wanted to do something for the celestial being in today's video. So I am starting just by sketching him out and trying to come up with some ideas as I sketch him, which is what I'm using this page here for, because it doesn't matter if it looks nice or not because it's already got all the bleed through. Normally I would cover the bleed through up with like a different piece of artwork, a different piece of paper, or I would cover it with acrylic markers because they cover it really well. Also, it can be nice to just use it as a messy page and then you don't care how things turn out. So yeah, that's what I'm doing here. And I sketched him out initially with his hands out, like as if trying to encourage you to do something or take something. Because he is a celestial being, I want him to look quite majestic and holy, or you know. But the whole thing with this guy is that he is a pretty sad guy which is what I want to come through in this piece. So I'm drawing him here just a little sadder because the whole thing with him is loss. I explain it better in the title page video for Sketchbook 16, but basically he fell in love with a human and he loses that human. And there is more to their story than just that, but for whatever reason that is what I focus on the most. So he's mostly sad. But yeah, I liked the composition of the original doodle I drew, but I wanted him to be sadder. I also didn't want his hands outstretched, so as you can see I am messing around with him having his hands clasped, and I wanted beams of light to be coming out of the hands. And then I did a little doodle of his face again, basically to be like, make him look sadder than the first one, because he didn't look very sad in the first one. That was my planning, and now I am just going ahead and sketching him on the page I'm going to draw him on. Very easy because I had done all that planning. You know, planning is good for a reason. I should do it more often. I struggled a little bit with his face because although his face is very basic, he doesn't have a nose, he doesn't have a mouth. I struggled a little bit because I was like, well, I want him to look sad, but I don't know if I want him to look that sad. I do basically leave him looking really sad, which makes me feel bad for him, but anyway, I wanted to keep this somewhat simple so that I could mess around more with the pens rather than worrying too much about the design of all of this. I like how his head works. It goes off into this sort of like flowy nebula kind of thing. Because he is a celestial being, I do like him to be reminiscent of like space and stars and all that kind of stuff. And so I also end up changing what's in his hand to look more like a physical, like glass star, and which you will see when I get to colouring him. So for his colour scheme, I did mostly want to stick to what I had originally done on that original title page, but also mess around with the colours a bit because it's fun with him, because he is like, you know, supposed to be reminiscent of space, and there are actually like a lot of colours in space. I just like that to be shown in his like wispy head thing, but I also wanted it to look a bit like he was being lit from behind, so there are some like colour gradients around like his neck that are supposed to show a sort of glowing vibe. And yeah, that is another point where I found that the soft chisel nib works wonderfully. They just blend so nicely. So I was able to get really nice gradients between everything, and I had so much fun just blending all the colours and just making up like, ooh, what colours do I want to go here and what blending do I want to do. So that was really nice, and I also think it shows off like a nice range of the colours that come in the set because he's so colourful. So yeah, I really like how this piece turned out because I decided to include so many colours. I did have the issue where I made his face a little too bright initially, because I wasn't entirely sure how I was going to get what I wanted it to look like, and I wasn't liking how the purple was looking, so I did end up going over it with a blue, and I feel like the shading that had been on the purple initially blended or showed through the blue really nicely in a way where I'm like, actually I really like how this turned out. So as for the thing he's holding, as I was colouring it here, it was starting to look more tangible rather than like beams of light that were poking through. So I kind of like the idea of it being like a star, but because it's like cold blues and purples, I want it to come across as like it's a dying star. And perhaps because of the whole thing that he loses the woman that he loves, I was like, what if it's her star and that's why he's so upset, because he's clasping it so tightly because he doesn't want to let it go, but it's going out regardless, and it's not because of how tightly he's holding it, but it is dying in his hands, and that's why he is so sad, because it's like, you know, it's like a metaphor. And I don't know why I do this to him, because I don't draw him that much, but when I do, I just make him suffer heartbreak, and it just feels cruel. But yeah, I just wanted to try and like keep up the colour schemes of that. So because his hands are blue and his face is blue, I wanted his like cloak thing to be a red, a purple, but I also didn't want that to blend in too much, so I do give it a sort of gradient, because the top of it has like the reds and oranges from the light source behind him, so I do have it blending into a colder blue in a way where it doesn't blend in too much with the hands, like I was saying, and I then think it actually gives this colour effect that the dying star is perhaps glowing and giving off this blue glow. So I just really like how it all ended up working, and it was kind of an accident, like I didn't plan it too much, it was just as I was going. So then because I'd been looking at the original picture again, and I noticed that I'd given him like a white circle behind his head that I hadn't coloured anything in. I wanted the circle behind him here to also be white, because I think it gives it a nice contrast to him, but it also then becomes the whitest part of the page, which makes it look like it is like glowing, you know? So I also gave it these like jagged lines coming out of it to give like glowing lines, I don't know what it's called, and then I just slowly blended it out into still light colours but slowly getting a bit darker, because I did not want the background to get as dark as he was, because I really wanted him to stand out the most, which I think works, and I really like it because I do feel like it gives this like proper back glow effect. There's a lot of bleed through, but nothing we can't cover. And I'm just really happy with how it turned out. I really like the colours. As you probably noticed, I didn't give it any line art because I feel like it works by itself. And at this point, I think the line art would be pointless because it has definition, and I don't want to risk the line art making it look less delicate. I think it looks fine without the line art. I like how everything blended. Again, these soft nibs just make everything feel so smooth. So I'm really happy with how they work. I am really happy with how this video turned out. I did a lot more than I initially, like I said, was planning to do. I'm incredibly happy. I really like how the teeth turned out. I really like how this tiger turned out. And then also how this guy turned out. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. I hope you guys have enjoyed this too. As always, the links for each of the pens sets will be in the description below. I want to say a huge thank you to Ohuhu for sending me these pens to try out, as well as a massive thank you to my Patreons. Disby, Finn Carter, Grimclow, The Waffle of Life, Non-Toxic, Saint Nick's, LP, Kira May, Kay, Joanna, Mila, Pretty Rotten, R.A. Foxy, Joanna Snake Moon, Humble Frogs, Local Fishkeeper, Mould Ghoul, Fararware, Sun Arts, Molly Marula, Scout Radley, Sammy Bear 127, Kenzania, Arrow, Charlie, Malorus, Cindy King, Art by Lavender, Angel of the Woods, Rainbow Tea, Breaded Nuggets, Learns, Humani, The Moth Bug, Nox, Catbird House, The Tormented Shadow, Sweet and Hopeless, Pocket, Jordan's Tiny Planet, The Coffee Rain, Black Jackal Art, Leela Loves You, Faith, A. Wendu, Koza Scobbs, Ronnie, Olivia Gadbor, Heather F., Cheris Needham, Rotting Lettuce, Binixery, Cyrus Orion, Mottled Pixel, Malbon Designs, Gamut Girl, Dodo, Catberry Studio, Solar Tortoise, Venom Horror, Auden, Red S Lily, Haley, Sienna G, Lady Ratbird, Fia, Greenfinch G Illustration, Lynn, Cody, Pobbles, Kaleidoscope Arm, Cloud, Cleo, Redders, Ziutka, Chelsea Amson, Beetle Ghost, Artsy Ghost, Melisandre Sinclair, Bria Washington, Hurrier, June, Dakota Garcia, Elithra, Manon, Lily Likes Art, Rona, I Am a Yertle, Levi, Kira's Cozy Corner, Tink, Daniel McGuinness, Janine, Dios Live, Ella Chenshuo, K2, Flossie, August, Stegosaurus, Yoinks, Soundly Manners, Stoyan, Bleety, Chloe, Starry Fern, Kiki, Nuclear Nail Bomb, Brianna, P. Wright Stuff, Raig Norway, JGP, Spaceman Theo, Slurp, Nosebridge, Dopus Thessia, Cherry, In the Clouds, Quill, Noel, and Saturn. Thank you guys so much for all of your support, and I have some more videos coming out for you soon, so hopefully I will see you there.